Shalom, shalom. Welcome to His Kingdom Ways. I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin today's reading, I want to take a moment and give honor where honor is due. I give honor to our apostle and spiritual covering, Apostle Shane Vaughn, pastor and overseer of First Harvest Ministries International, and the author of the work we will be reading today. I give honor to our First Lady, Pastor Karen Vaughn. I honor Bishop Kendrick and Mama Kendrick. I give honor to all the elders, ministers, leaders of First Harvest Ministries International. As a minister of this ministry, it is a privilege and an honor to share this message with you. Today we continue our reading from Before the Beginning, the Pre-Adamic World, the Fall of the Watchers, and Yahweh's eternal purpose for His sons. Picking up in chapter 11. The tool of time. Why 7,000 years? 2 Peter 3, verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahweh as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. The question no one asks. We have traced the story from eternity past to Adam's creation, from the fall to the flood, from the corruption of the watchers to the preservation of Noah's line. We have seen Yahweh alone with His thoughts, birthing the idea of sons. We have watched the angels shout for joy at earth's creation. We have witnessed the Nameless One's rebellion, the ice age of judgment, the restoration of the 6 days. But there is a question that hangs over all of this, a question most believers never think to ask. Why time? Why didn't Yahweh simply create Adam in a glorified form? Why not skip the mortality, the testing, the thousands of years of struggle? Why subject His sons to aging, to suffering, to death? Why make them fight for what the angels were simply given? The angels were created immortal. They were given everything before they proved anything. They lived in the presence of Yahweh. They witnessed His glory firsthand. They had no mortality pressing them toward decision, and 1/3 of them fell. That fact alone should make you pause. Beings who had everything, eternal life, direct access to Yahweh, knowledge of His power and goodness, still chose rebellion, still followed the Nameless One, still said, I will, instead of thy will. But here is something deeper that most have never considered. The angels had no tester. Think about it. For there to be a test, there must be an adversary. For there to be opposition, there must be an opposer. For sons to be proven, there must be someone trying to make them fail. But Yahweh, in His loving kindness, would not create an adversary by fiat. He would not speak a devil into existence and say, your purpose is to destroy my children. That would violate His very nature. He creates life, not designated destroyers. So He waited. He knew from before time began who would choose that path. He knew which of His sons would look at the throne and say, I will ascend. He knew who would become the smith, the hammer, the tool of testing. But He could not force it. He had to let it happen. He had to wait for that being to choose rebellion of his own free will, to forge himself into the adversary that sons would need. And so the Nameless One chose. He became the tester. He became the smith. He became the opposition that would hammer every son who came after him. But here is the tragedy. The angels who fell with Him had no such tester. They fell with the adversary, not against Him. They became rebels before there was anyone opposing them. They chose, I will, when there was no voice whispering temptation. They simply drifted, untested, unproven, into rebellion. 1/3 of the angels fell without ever facing an adversary. But you You have faced the adversary every day of your life. You have been hammered by the smith that angels never knew. You have been tested by the very being whose rebellion made testing possible. This is why sons will reign and fallen angels will not. They fell without a fight. You stood through the fire. Yahweh would not make the same arrangement with man. The tool that angels never had. Here is the truth that will reframe everything you understand about human existence. Time is a tool. It is not a curse. It is not a mistake. It is not evidence of Yahweh's distance or indifference. Time is the proving ground that produces sons who will never fall. Think of it like an apprenticeship. A master craftsman doesn't hand his shop to someone who just walked in off the street. The apprentice watches. He fails, he corrected, he sweeps the floor for years before he's trusted with the tools. He burns his hands, he ruins materials. He wants to quit 100 times, but the master keeps him at it, not because he hates him, but because he's preparing him to inherit the shop. And here's the thing, the master's own son goes through the same process, sometimes harder because more is expected of him. No shortcuts, no exceptions. If he's going to run the family business, he has to earn the right, not by blood alone, but by proving he can do the work. The angels were given the keys to the shop without ever sweeping a floor, and they wrecked it. But the sons of Yahweh, they are sweeping floors. They are burning their hands. They are being corrected, tested, and shaped by a master who knows exactly what he is producing. When the family inherit the shop, they will know how to run it. The pressure of the clock. Man lives under the pressure of the clock. Every heartbeat brings him closer to the end. Every sunrise reminds him that his days are numbered. Every funeral whispers, "Your turn is coming." This is not cruelty, this is strategy. Yahweh designed mortality to force decision. He created time to compress the test. He gave man 70 or 80 years, not forever, to prove what he's made of. Psalms 90 verse 12, so teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. The angels had no days to number, they had eternity, and eternity bred complacency. Man has a deadline, and deadlines produce clarity. 6 days, 6,000 years. Now here is something that most of the church has never understood. The 6 days of the week are not arbitrary. They are prophetic. 2 Peter 3 verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahweh as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. 1 day equals 1,000 years. 6 days of work, then, a Sabbath of rest. This is not just a weekly pattern, it is a blueprint for human history. From Adam to the present day, approximately 6,000 years have passed. 6 days, 6 millennia of human labor, human struggle, human history unfolding under the shadow of the Nameless One's temporary authority. During these 6 days, Yeshua is not yet Lord of this earth in the governmental sense. I know that statement shocks you. Let me be clear about what I mean and what I do not mean. Yeshua was always the Son by identity, but he became Lord by obedience. He was crowned after victory, not assumed at birth. Hebrews 5 verses 8 through 9. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. Philippians 2 verse 9. Wherefore Yahweh also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. Yeshua had the right to rule as son, but he received the throne after obedience. This is not a denial of his authority. It is the legal covenantal basis for his authority. He earned what Adam forfeited. He qualified where angels failed. So when I say Yeshua is not yet Lord of this earth during the 6,000 years, I mean this. His governmental reign has not yet been established on earth. The kingdom has not yet come. That is why he taught us to pray, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because it isn't yet. The God of this world, by permission, not ownership, is still the nameless one. He holds the authority that was delegated to him before Genesis 1 verse 1. Authority on lease, not title deed. Authority that Adam failed to reclaim. Authority that remains in rebel hands until the seventh day dawns. This is why evil sometimes wins. This is why the righteous suffer. This is why your prayers feel like warfare, because they are. The classroom revisited. Remember the classroom analogy? The teacher is at the board explaining the equation. A student in the back mocks him, tells the class there's a better way. The teacher has two choices: expel the student immediately or invite him to the board and let him prove his case. If the teacher expels him, the other students will always wonder, what if he really did have a better way? So the teacher hands him the chalk, steps back, and leaves the room. Now it looks like chaos. The class descends into confusion. Hours pass. The student at the board cannot solve the problem. The other students grow desperate. They cry out, where is the teacher? When will he come back? 6 hours pass. 6 periods of confusion, frustration, and failure. But on the 7th hour, the teacher returns. He takes back the chalk. He restores order. And every student in that classroom knows beyond any doubt that there was never a better way than what the teacher originally offered. Hallelujah. And here is the key. The teacher doesn't just return. He returns qualified beyond dispute. He watched the chaos. He let it run its course. He gave every alternative a chance to prove itself. Now no angel, no rebel, no student can ever challenge his authority again. He didn't just claim the right to teach. He earned it by letting every other method fail. This is what Yahweh has done with human history. 6,000 years of the nameless one at the chalkboard. 6 millennia of humanity trying every system, every philosophy, every form of government, and failing. Socialism, capitalism, monarchy, democracy, theocracy, corrupted by men. All of it falling short. All of it proving that without Yahweh's Torah, without his law written on our hearts, there is no solution. The classroom is crying out for the teacher's return, and he is coming. The 7th day. There remains therefore a Sabbath rest for the people of Yahweh. Hebrews 4 verse 9. The 7th day is coming. Not just a weekly Sabbath, not just a 24-hour rest, a 1,000-year Sabbath, the millennial reign of Yeshua, the day when the nameless one is bound, when the princes of this world are stripped of their authority, when the sons of Yahweh finally inherit what Adam lost. Revelations 20 verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and they lived and they reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. For 6,000 years, the angels have held authority over the nations. For 6,000 years, the principalities and powers have ruled in the darkness. For 6,000 years, the earth has groaned under the weight of rebellion. But on the 7th day, everything changes. Hebrews 2, verse 5. For unto the angels hath he not put in subjection the age to come, whereof we speak? The age to come, the 7th millennium, will not be put in subjection to angels. It will be put in subjection to you. The sons of Yahweh, tested through time, proven through mortality, forged in the fire of 6,000 years. These are the ones who will rule with Yeshua, not angels, not the beings who had everything and still fell, but men and women who had nothing, who struggled, who suffered, who held on to faith when they couldn't see, and who chose thy will over I will. This is why time exists. This is why you were born mortal. This is why your life is hard. You are being trained for a throne. The guidepost along the way. Yahweh knew that 6,000 years was a long time to wait. He knew his children would grow weary. He knew they would lose sight of the story. He knew the chaos of the classroom would make them forget that the teacher is coming back. So he planted guideposts. Every 7 days the Sabbath arrives, a reset button, a reminder that you are not of this world, that you serve a different king, that the chaos around you is temporary. On the Sabbath, you are commanded to stop, to rest, to open the book, to remember the plan. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh thy Elohim. Exodus 20, verses 8 through 10. But the weekly Sabbath is not the only guidepost. Every year, Yahweh planted 7 more markers, the holy days, feasts that tell the story of redemption from beginning to end. Passover, the lamb slain, the blood applied, deliverance from death. Unleavened bread, sin purged, the old leaven removed, a week of walking in purity. Pentecost, the Spirit poured out, the first fruits gathered, the law written on our hearts. Trumpets, the warning blast, the call to awaken, the announcement that the King is coming. Atonement, the day of covering, the high priest entering the Holy of Holies, the nation reconciled to Yahweh. Tabernacles, the ingathering, the harvest complete. Yahweh dwelling with his people. The last great day, the final judgment, the resurrection of the rest, the story complete. These are not Jewish rituals to be ignored by New Testament believers. These are prophetic markers that Yahweh embedded in the calendar to keep his children oriented. They are the breadcrumbs Hansel dropped in the forest, guideposts to help you find your way home when the world makes you feel lost. If you're not keeping the feast, you've lost your landmarks. You are wandering in the woods without a map. You're sitting in the chaotic classroom with no memory that the teacher's coming back. Let me be clear, not keeping the feast doesn't damn you, but it disorients you. It leaves you without the prophetic calendar that tells you where you are in the story. And a disoriented soldier is an ineffective soldier. And disoriented soldiers do not win wars. Why the wait? But still the question lingers, why so long? Why 6,000 years? Why not 600? Why not 60? Because Yahweh is not just proving a point to the angels. He's not just demonstrating that the nameless one's way leads to destruction. He's forging sons who will never fail. Think about it. The angels fell without any external pressure. They had no mortality, no suffering, no struggle, and still 1/3 of them rebelled. But the sons of Yahweh, they are being forged in the opposite furnace. They are born into a world ruled by the enemy. They are surrounded by deception from birth. They are handed every reason to doubt, to despair, to abandon faith. They watch the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer. They cry out to heaven and sometimes hear only silence. And still they believe. Still they hold on. Still they say, though he slay me, yet I will trust him. These are not fair-weathered sons. These are not angels who fell at the first whisper of temptation. These are battle-hardened, time-tested, fire-forged sons who have proven their loyalty in the worst possible conditions. When the sons are resurrected, when they are given glorified bodies, immortal life, and seats on thrones, do you think they will fall? Never. They have already been tested beyond anything the angels ever faced. They have already proven themselves in the crucible of time. They have already chosen thy will when I will would have been so much easier. Here is the contrast that settles the matter. The angels fell without suffering a single day. The sons endured suffering and remained faithful. That is why sons will never fall once enthroned. They have been credentialed by the one thing angels never faced: time under pressure, faith under fire, loyalty when it cost them everything. Time is the tool that produces sons who will reign forever. And here is the legal framework that ties it all together. Adam was given dominion and failed. Angels were granted authority and rebelled. Yeshua earned lordship through obedience. Sons are being qualified through time. Time is not just delay. Time is credentialing. Yeshua did not bypass the process. He submitted to it. And through suffering, he was made perfect. Hebrews 5 verse 9. Now his brothers are walking the same road. They are being credentialed for thrones through the same tool that credentialed their elder brother. The clock is almost finished. Here is what you need to understand. We are not in the middle of the 6,000 years. We are at the end. The biblical genealogies by the chronological framework already established in Scripture places Adam's creation at approximately 4,000 years before Yeshua. Add roughly 2,000 years since Yeshua's resurrection and you arrive at the present day. 6,000 years, 6 days, almost complete. The seventh day is at the door. This is why the world feels like it's spinning out of control. This is why evil seems to be accelerating. This is why the chaos in the classroom has reached a fever pitch. The student at the chalkboard knows his time is almost up. The nameless one knows his authority is about to be revoked. The principalities and powers know that the age to come will not be put in their hands. They are desperate. But their desperation is proof that the teacher is about to return. Even so, come, Master Yeshua. Revelations 22, verse 20. What time demands of you? So what does this mean for you right now? In whatever year you are reading these words, it means your life is not meaningless. Your struggles are not pointless. Your suffering is not wasted. You are being tested. Every day, every decision, every moment of faith or doubt, it is all part of the proving. Yahweh is watching to see what you will do when the classroom is in chaos. Will you join the rebellion? Will you curse the teacher for leaving? Will you give up and walk out? Or will you hold your ground? Will you keep studying the book? Will you refuse to bow to the student at the chalkboard, even when everyone else is worshiping him? Woo. The angels existed in eternity, and many fell. You are being tested in time, and time is running out. The question is not whether you will be tested. The question is whether you will pass. He that endureth to the end shall be saved. Matthew 24:13. The Sabbath is coming. I want to leave you with this image. It is Friday afternoon. The sun is setting. The work week is ending. The Sabbath is about to begin. For 6 days you have labored. You have struggled. You have fought through a world that opposes everything you believe. You've watched the wicked prosper and wondered if righteousness even matters. But now the sun is going down. The 6th day is ending. And as the first stars appear in the sky, you light the Sabbath candles. You open the book. You remember the promise. The teacher is coming back. The 7th day is almost here. And on that day, that 1,000-year day, there will be no more striving, no more warfare, no more wondering if Yahweh sees, if Yahweh cares, if Yahweh will act. And on that day, you will sit on a throne. You will rule with the sun. You will see the nameless one bound in chains, thrown into the abyss, silenced at last. And you will know with absolute certainty that every trial, every tear, every moment of holding on when you wanted to let go was worth it. The tool of time will have done its work, and you will reign forever. 2 Timothy 2, verses 12. If we endure, we shall also reign with him. In chapter 12, we will explore the divine council in full, the cosmic government that has ruled behind the scenes of human history, the angelic princes who have held authority over the nations, and the transfer of power that is about to occur. Revelations 20, verses 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. Chapter 12, the divine council, the government behind the governments. Yahweh standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. Psalms 82, verse 1. The meeting you were never told about. There is a scene in Scripture that most pastors skip over. Not because it's obscure. It's right there in the text. They skip it because they don't know what to do with it. It is a meeting, a council meeting. Yahweh is seated on his throne. Around him stands the host of heaven, angelic beings, sons of Elohim, spirit rulers who have witnessed everything from creation of the world. They are standing at attention. They are waiting for instructions. And then Yahweh speaks. 2 Chronicles 18, verse 19. Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? Read that again. Yahweh, the Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth, is asking his council for suggestions. He is soliciting input. He is holding a strategy session about how to deal with a wicked king. This is not how we've been taught to think about Yahweh. We imagine him ruling alone, issuing decrees from an empty throne room, speaking into the void and watching things happen. But that is not the picture that Scripture paints. Scripture shows us a divine council, a heavenly government through which Yahweh administers his will across the cosmos. How Yahweh governs. A king governs through government. A president governs through cabinet. Yahweh governs through council. This is not a limitation on his power. It is a revelation of his nature. Yahweh is a father. He has always been building a family, and families have structure. They have roles. They have hierarchy. Before man was ever created, Yahweh had sons, the angels, the B'nai Elohim, the sons of Elohim. They were his first family. They were created to serve, to worship, to carry out his commands across the heavens and the earth. When Yahweh gives a command, he does not personally patrol every corner of the universe to enforce it. He dispatches his sons. They are his eyes running to and fro throughout the earth. They are his messengers, his warriors, his administrators. Psalms 103, verses 20. Bless Yahweh, ye his angels, that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. The angels excel in strength, but notice what activates that strength, the voice of his word. When Yahweh speaks, angels move. When the council receives its orders, heaven mobilizes. This is the government behind every government on earth. Here is the map of what we will explore. First, we will see the council in session. Then we will see the princes assigned to nations. Then we will watch them judged for corruption. And finally, we will see what your prayers do inside that unseen war. The 70 princes. Now here is where most believers get lost. When Yahweh divided the nations at Babel, he did not simply scatter people across the earth and leave them to figure things out. He assigned rulers over them, not human rulers, angelic rulers. Deuteronomy 32, verses 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the sons of Elohim, as preserved in the older textual tradition. Most English Bibles mistranslate this verse as children of Israel, but Israel did not exist when Yahweh divided the nations at Babel. The Hebrew phrase is B'nai Elohim, sons of Elohim, angels. Yahweh divided the earth into 70 nations and assigned 70 angels, 70 princes to govern them. These are the principalities Paul writes about in Ephesians 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, principalities, prince-level authorities, rulership structures that operate behind the visible governments of men. When you look at a nation and wonder why it behaves the way it does, why certain cultures are drawn to certain sins, why some regions are strongholds of idolatry, why some governments seem demonically oppressive, you are seeing the influence of the prince assigned to that territory. These angels were given authority. Many of them rebelled, and now they rule their regions according to their own fallen agenda, until the seventh day dawns and their authority is revoked. Satan reports for duty. Here is something that will reframe how you read the book of Job. Job 1 verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. This is a council meeting. The sons of Elohim, the angelic rulers, have come before Yahweh to report, to give account, to receive instructions, and Satan is among them. The nameless one, the adversary, the rebel who led 1/3 of heaven into mutiny, he shows up at the council meeting. He presents himself before Yahweh just like the other princes. Why? Because even in his rebellion, he is still under Yahweh's authority. He still reports. He still operates within boundaries. He is the God of this world by permission, not ownership, and the landlord still calls meetings. Job 1 verse 7. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it. Do you hear the posture in that answer? That is the language of a territorial ruler, walking jurisdiction, patrolling assignment. He is not hiding. He is not cowering. He shows up at the council meeting and reports on his domain. When Yahweh asks, Have you considered my servant Job? He is not surprised by what happens next. He is authorizing it. He's allowing the test. He's using the adversary as the tool the adversary chose to become. This is the divine counsel in operation. The council makes decisions. Go back to 2 Chronicles 18. Yahweh wants to deal with King Ahab. He asked the council, Who will persuade him? And one spake, saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner. 2 Chronicles 18, verse 19. The council members are offering suggestions. Different spirits propose different strategies. This is deliberation. This is discussion. This is heavenly governance in action. Then one spirit steps forward in 2 Chronicles 18, verse 20. Then there came out a spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. And Yahweh said unto him, Wherewith? Yahweh asked, How do you plan to do it? And the spirit answers, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. 2 Chronicles 18, verse 21. And Yahweh's response, Thou shalt persuade him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do so. 2 Chronicles 18, verses 21. Let that sink in. Yahweh authorized a lying spirit to deceive a wicked king's prophets. This is not Yahweh doing evil. This is Yahweh using the evil that already exists in fallen spirits to accomplish his purposes. The spirit volunteered to lie. That was his nature. Yahweh simply gave permission and direction. Yahweh did not create the lie. He sentenced the liar. The council proposed. Yahweh approved. The mission was executed. This is how heaven operates. Now Yahweh convenes the council not just to assign. He convenes it to judge. Psalms 82, Yahweh judges the gods. There is a psalm that most preachers avoid because they cannot explain it. Psalms 82, verse 1. Elohim standeth in the congregation of El. He judgeth among Elohim. Literal Hebrew. Yahweh stands in the divine council. He judges among the gods, the Elohim, the angelic rulers, the 70 princes who were assigned to govern the nations. And what is his judgment? Psalms 82, verses 2 through 4. How long will ye judge unjustly, and accept the persons of the wicked. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. He is rebuking them. These princes were supposed to govern justly. They were supposed to reflect Yahweh's character to the nations under their care. Instead, they have judged unjustly. They have favored the wicked. They have opposed the poor. Psalms 82, verse 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. The foundations of the earth are shaken because the princes have failed. The chaos you see in the world, the injustice, the oppression, the darkness, is the fruit of angelic rebellion at the government level. And then comes the verdict. I have said, ye are Elohim, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. Psalms 82, verses 6 through 7. The text calls them Elohim. It calls them sons of the Most High, and then it sentences them to fall. This is divine status language applied to rulers under judgment. These gods, these angelic rulers, were given divine status. They were called Elohim. They were sons of the Most High. But because of their failure, they will be judged like men. They will fall. The final verse is a cry for Yahweh to take direct control. Arise, O Elohim, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. Psalms 82, verses 8. One day, Yahweh will no longer govern through rebellious princes. He will inherit all nations directly. The 70 will be stripped of their authority, and new rulers, sons tested through time, sons who proved faithful, will take their thrones. Daniel and the Prince of Persia. If you want to see the divine counsel in action during human history, read Daniel chapter 10. Daniel is praying. He is seeking Yahweh's face for understanding about a vision. He prays for 21 days. Then the angel appears to him. Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and chasten thyself before thy Elohim, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. Daniel 10, verses 12. The angel was dispatched the moment Daniel started praying. The answer left heaven on day 1, but it took 21 days to arrive. Why? But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the king of Persia. Daniel 10, verse 13. The prince of Persia blocked him. Not a human prince, an angelic prince, one of the 70. The spirit ruler assigned to the Persian territory saw the answer coming and intercepted it. For 3 weeks, there was war in the heavens over Daniel's prayer. It took Michael, one of the chief princes, Israel's own prince, to break through. Do you understand what this means? Your prayers are not falling into a void. They are dispatching angels. They are initiating warfare. They are contested by the very principalities Paul warned us about. And if you stop praying, the angels fighting on your behalf lose their reinforcement. I am come for thy words. The angel came because of Daniel's words. The breakthrough happened because Daniel did not stop speaking. The answer was delayed, not denied, because there was a battle, and Daniel's prayers were the fuel that kept heaven fighting. Hallelujah. Israel, the exception. Here is something critical that most believers have missed. When Yahweh divided the nations and assigned them to the 70 princes, he kept one nation for himself. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Deuteronomy 32, verse 9. Israel was not assigned to any of the 70 angels. Israel belongs directly to Yahweh. This is why Israel has always been different. This is why the Nameless One hates Israel with such venom. This is why the spiritual warfare over that tiny piece of land is so intense. Israel is not governed by a fallen prince. Israel's governed by Michael, the archangel, the chief prince, the commander of Yahweh's armies, and ultimately by Yahweh himself. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince. Daniel 10, verses 21. Michael is called your prince, Daniel's prince, Israel's prince, not one of the rebellious 70, a chief prince who stands for Yahweh's people. This is why covenant prayer carries different authority. This is why the enemy works so hard to turn the nations against the Jewish people. This is why replacement theology, the lie that the church has replaced Israel, is one of Satan's most effective deceptions. If he can convince the church that Israel no longer matters, he can cut them off from understanding their own identity. Because the church is not a replacement for Israel. The church is Israel expanded by grafting, not replacement. The wild branches grafted into the olive tree, the lost tribes returning home. You are part of the nation that Yahweh kept for himself. You are not governed by the 70. You have a prince who stands for you. Prayer as covert warfare. Now you understand why Yeshua taught us to pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven, Matthew 6, verses 10. If Yahweh's will were automatically done on earth, we wouldn't need to pray for it, but it isn't. The 70 princes are resisting. The principalities are fighting. The God of this world is still on his least authority, pushing back against every advance of the kingdom. Your prayers are not passive requests. They are warfare. You are a covert operative in enemy territory. You are an advanced team preparing for the way of the coming king. You are a voice crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of Yahweh. When you pray, angels move. When you intercede, heaven responds. When you refuse to stop, like Daniel, 21 days on your knees, breakthroughs happen that would not have happened otherwise. The angels excel in strength at the voice of his word. And when you pray the word of Yahweh, when you pray, thy will be done, you are adding your voice to the chorus of heaven. The princes hear you. The principalities take notice. And Michael moves. The seventh day transfer. Here is the hope that anchors everything. For unto the angels hath he not put in subjection the age to come, whereof we speak. Hebrews 2, verse 5. The age to come, the seventh millennium, the Sabbath rest, the kingdom of Yahweh on earth will not be governed by angels. The 70 will be removed. The principalities will be bound. The nameless one will be cast into the abyss for 1,000 years. And who will rule? Revelations 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. You will. Sons who were tested through time. Sons who prayed when they couldn't see. Sons who held fast under the governance of rebellious princes and never bowed to the gods of this world. You will sit where angels sat. You will rule where princes failed. You will inherit the nations that were once divided among the 70, not because you were stronger than them, but because you were faithful when they were faithless. The divine council will be reconstituted, and you will have a seat. What this means for you today, let me bring this cosmic reality down to where you live. You are not fighting against your boss. You're not wrestling with your spouse. You are not battling political parties, economic systems, or cultural trends. You are wrestling against principalities. The anger you feel toward people is often misdirected. They are puppets in a play, manipulated by the strings they cannot see. The puppet master wants you to hate the puppet so you never look up and notice who is pulling the strings. When you understand the divine counsel, you stop fighting flesh and blood. You start praying against the princes. You start binding the powers. You start loosing the angels who are awaiting for the voice of the saints. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Matthew 18, verses 18. That is not a metaphor. That is governmental authority. That is a son of the kingdom exercising the dominion that Adam was supposed to exercise, the dominion that the angels forfeited, the dominion that Yeshua earned and is now delegating to his brothers. You are not a victim of the system. You are a threat to it. Start praying like you believe it. In chapter 13, we will bring this story to its conclusion. The throne that awaits, the sons who will fill it, and the glory that will be revealed when Yahweh finally has what he has wanted from the beginning, a family of proven sons who will reign forever. Arise, O Elohim, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. Psalms 82, verse 8. Chapter 13, the throne awaits, sons destined for glory. To him that overcometh, I will grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. Revelations 3, verse 21. The end of the story. We have traveled a long road together. We began before the beginning, when Yahweh was alone with his thoughts, when no star had yet burned, when no angel had yet sung, when the idea of sons was still forming in the mind of the eternal. We watched him speak the angels into existence, the morning stars who sang, the sons of Elohim who shouted for joy when the foundations of earth was laid. We saw him give them a gift, a planet fashioned as a jewel in his cosmos, a home where they could dwell in his presence forever. We witnessed the rise and fall of the Nameless One, the anointed cherub, the governor of earth, the high priest who stood in Eden among the stones of fire. We heard his 5 fatal words, I will ascend. We watched 1/3 of heaven follow him into rebellion. We traced the catastrophic judgment that wrapped the earth in ice and darkness. We stood at Genesis 1, verse 2, and understood this was not the beginning, this was the aftermath. We saw Yahweh restore what judgment had ruined. We watched the Spirit hover over the waters. We heard him say, let there be light, not creating, but revealing. We counted the 6 days of restoration and understood they were preparing a stage for something new. We met the shadow men, the pre-Adamic creatures whose bones lie buried beneath our feet, and we understood why Adam's DNA was different. We knelt beside Yahweh as he formed the first man from the dust. We felt the neshama enter human nostrils for the first time. We understood this was the DNA interruption, the moment when Yahweh's image entered human flesh. We learned the meaning of Elohim, not a generic title, but a family name. We discovered that sons are destined to become what their father is, spirit, immortal, glorified, seated. We witnessed the Watchers' corruption of human genetics and understood why the flood came. We mapped the divine council, the 70 princes, the principalities and powers, the angelic rulers who govern the nations until the 7th day dawns. We understood why time exists, not as a punishment, but as proving ground. We saw how the tool of time produces sons who will never fall, sons forged in the fire that angels never faced. And now we arrive at the end, or rather, the beginning of what has no end. What Yahweh wanted. Let me take you back to where we started. Before there was anything, Yahweh was alone, complete in himself, lacking nothing, needing no one. He could have remained in that eternal solitude forever, but he didn't. Something stirred in him. An idea took shape. A desire crystallized into purpose. He wanted sons, not servants. He could have made angels and stopped there, not slaves. He could have programmed obedience into his creatures, not worshipers only. The seraphim were already crying, holy, holy, holy. He wanted sons, beings who bore his image, beings who shared his nature, beings who would choose him, not because they had to, but because they wanted to, beings who would say, thy will, when every voice in the universe was screaming, my will. He wanted a family. And now, after billions of years of preparation, after the rise and fall of angels, after the testing of Adam, after 6,000 years of human history, groaning under the weight of rebellion, he is about to get what he wanted. The seventh day dawns. The sixth day is ending. The sun is setting on 6,000 years of human struggle. The Nameless One knows his lease is expiring. The principalities feel their thrones shaking. The whole creation is holding its breath. And then a trumpet. For the Master himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh, and the dead in Messiah shall rise first. 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16. The graves open. Abraham rises. David rises. The prophets and martyrs and countless unnamed faithful, all rising, all transformed, all clothed in glory. In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 52. The sons who slept in the dust awake as Elohim. The natural bodies that were sown in weakness are raised in power. The image of Yahweh planted in human flesh 6,000 years ago finally blooms into full glory, and Yeshua returns. Not as a suffering servant this time, not as a lamb led to slaughter. He returns as King of Kings and Master of Masters, riding on the clouds, his eyes like flame, his robe dipped in blood, his name written, the word of Yahweh. And he hath on his vesture and on his high thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Revelations 19, verse 16. The student at the chalkboard is expelled. The Nameless One is bound. The 70 princes are stripped of their authority. The age of angelic governance ends, and the age of the sons begin. The thrones are filled. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. Revelations 20, verse 4. Do you see it? Thrones, plural. Not one throne for Yeshua and standing room for everyone else. Thrones, seats of authority, positions of rulership. And who sits on them? Sons. The ones who were tested through time. The ones who held fast when the classroom was in chaos. The ones who prayed when they couldn't see. Believed when they couldn't understand. Obeyed when it cost them everything. These are the rulers of the age to come. These are the governors of the nations. These are the Elohim who replaced the fallen princes, not because they were stronger, but because they were faithful. He that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Revelations 2, verses 26 through 27. The 70 seats vacated by rebellious angels are filled by proven sons. The divine council is reconstituted, and you have a seat. What the kingdom looks like. For 1,000 years, earth will finally see what it was supposed to look like from the beginning. War collapses. The nations are retrained. The instruments of death are reforged into life. Isaiah 2, verse 4. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. No more injustice. The poor will not be oppressed. The fatherless will not be forgotten. The wicked will not prosper at the expense of the righteous. The Torah will go forth from Zion, and every judge will rule according to Yahweh's perfect law. No more deception. The Nameless One is bound. The lying spirits are silenced. The principalities that blinded the nations for 6,000 years are chained in the abyss. Truth will cover the earth like the waters cover the sea. Isaiah 11, verse 9. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh, as the waters cover the sea. No more curse. The ground will yield its strength. The animals will be at peace with one another and with man. The child will play by the cobra's den and not be harmed. Creation itself will be released from its bondage to decay. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid, and the calf with the young lion, and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. Isaiah 11, verse 6. Some of this blooms in the 1,000 years, some reaches fullness when all things are made new. This is what the nameless one's rebellion stole. This is what Adam's failure forfeited. This is what 6,000 years of angelic misrule corrupted. And this is what the sons of Yahweh will restore, ruling with the Son. But what will you actually do during this 1,000 years? You will rule. Not as a figurehead, not as a ceremonial position. Real authority, real responsibility, real governance. Yeshua told a parable about a master who went on a journey and entrusted his servants with resources. When he returned, he rewarded them according to their faithfulness. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy master. Matthew 25, verse 21. Faithful over a few things, ruler over many things. What you do now matters. How you steward what you've been given matters. Your faithfulness in this age determines your authority in the age to come. Some will rule over 10 cities, some over 5. Some will have greater authority, some lesser, not by favoritism, but by proven faithfulness. And he said unto him, Well done, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. Luke 19, verse 17. The apprentice who swept the floors, burned his hands, and never quit, he gets the shop. The son who learned obedience through suffering, he gets the throne. This is not a metaphor. This is the governmental structure of the coming kingdom, beyond the millennium. But the 1,000 years is not the end. After the millennium, there's one final test. Satan is released for a short season. The nations are tested one last time, and then the final judgment. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Revelations 20, verse 11. Every knee bows, every tongue confesses. The books are opened, the dead are judged according to their works. Judgment is real. But Yahweh's judgments are remedial, not aimless. And then death itself is destroyed. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Revelations 20, verse 14. No more death, no more graves, no more funerals. The last enemy is abolished. The curse that entered through Adam is finally, fully, forever removed. And then the new heavens and the new earth. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Revelations 20, verses 1 through 2. Yahweh himself comes to dwell with his sons, not through a temple, not through a veil, face to face. Father with family. The dream that began before the beginning finally realized in full. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. Revelations 21, verses 3. The family complete. Do you see it now? The whole story, from eternity past to eternity future, has been about one thing: Yahweh building a family. He wanted sons, not servants, not slaves, sons. He created angels and they fell. He created Adam and he failed. But Yahweh was not detoured. He sent his own son, the prototype of what sons could be, and Yeshua succeeded where everyone else had failed. And now, through Yeshua, Yahweh's getting his family. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestine, to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Romans 8, verses 29. Yeshua is the firstborn, but he is not the only born. He is the first among many brethren, many sons, a family of Elohim, all bearing the image of the Father, all seated with the Son, all reigning forever in a kingdom that has no end. This is why you were created. This is why you were tested. This is why time exists. This is why you suffer. You are being prepared for a throne. The choice that remains. We have come to the end of this book, but you have not come to the end of your story. The 6th day is not over yet. The trumpet has not sounded. The graves have not opened. You are still in the classroom, still under the governance of rebellious princes, still fighting the good fight of faith. And every day you face the same choice that has echoed through the entire narrative: I will or thy will. The nameless one said, I will ascend. He grasped for what was not his. He reached for the throne instead of waiting to receive it, and he fell. Adam said, I will, reaching for the fruit, grasping for knowledge, taking what was forbidden instead of trusting the Father's timing, and he fell. But Yeshua said, not my will, but thine be done. He emptied himself. He became obedient unto death. He waited for the Father to exalt him, and he was raised to the highest place, the name above every name, the throne above every throne. The path to the throne runs through the cross. The way up is down. The secret to reigning is surrendering. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. 2 Timothy 2 verses 12. Your place in the story. You are not a spectator in this drama. You are a participant. The same choice that faced the angels faces you. The same test that Adam failed is before you. The same obedience that qualified Yeshua is required of you. Will you say, I will, grasping, reaching, demanding, taking? Or will you say, thy will, surrendering, trusting, waiting, receiving? The nameless one offered Yeshua all the kingdoms of the world if he would bow. Yeshua refused. He chose the cross over the shortcut. He chose suffering over compromise. He chose the Father's way over the enemy's offer. The same offer comes to you every day. Take the shortcut, compromise a little, bow to the system, get what you can get now, and forget about the throne. But you know the truth now. You know what's at stake. You know what's coming. You know that the 7th day is about to begin, and you know that a throne awaits, and you know the only way to reach it. The dream fulfilled. Before there was anything, Yahweh was alone with a dream. He dreamed of sons, sons who would bear his image, sons who would share his throne, sons who would choose him freely, love him fully, and reign with him forever. That dream is about to be fulfilled. The angels fell, but you are still standing. Adam failed, but you are still fighting. The nameless one accuses, but you are still believing. And soon, very soon, the trumpet will sound. The Feast of Trumpets. The trumpet will sound. The dead will rise. The King will return. The thrones will be filled. And Yahweh will finally have what he wanted from the beginning, a family, his family, you. The throne does not go to the gifted. It goes to the faithful. And when that day comes, when the sons are revealed, when the thrones are filled, when the dream of eternity becomes reality, all of creation will exhale the breath it has been holding since Adam fell. Because this is what it has been all building toward. This is why the mountains groan. This is why the seas roar. This is why the whole earth travails like a woman in labor. Creation knows something is coming. Creation knows what it has been waiting for. For the earnest expectation of creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Yahweh, Romans 8, verses 19. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. Revelations 21, verse 7, the beginning. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. Revelations 21, verse 7, the beginning.